My name is Jensen. Let's learn some UiPath. Today we will talk about version control, Git and UiPath. It sounds very advanced and it's something that is often asked about in RPA, interview and tests. But really, all there is to it is backup and collaboration. We can back up our UiPath project and our fellow developers can take down these projects and work with them. It could also be yourself, so you know that you always have your project backed up and you can have different versions, so you can roll one version back, two versions back, or whatever you want. Really, really smart. Some key words in Git is that we have our Git Online Repository Manager. That was the one where we backed up our project to and we taken down. That's like a Dropbox or OneDrive for software development. Then when we upload our project, we call it push. When we take down these projects, that could be our fellow developers or ourselves, we pull down these things. That's it. In this video, we will talk about how to set it up. It's really easy. It's integrated in UiPath. We will also talk about how to work in parallel and handle conflicts. And make sure you follow my Instagram because I'll post all my courses there. You'll get notified when I make a new course, which of course they are free. And you will get behind the scenes material and tips and tricks. So find me on Instagram. Now let's learn about Git.
First of all, we need a Git Repository Manager. That's where our files will be stored. So when we work on the files locally and upload them, it will be stored here. So across different teams, they will use this platform. I will use GitLab for this project, but you can use GitHub or any other Git Online Repository Manager. It will look the same and the intuition will also be the same. So if you sign up with GitLab, choose New Project. Click here. We choose Create Blank Project. So this will just create a blank project repository. We give it a name. I will call it Open Website Anders. You can place it in a different folder or online place. Here at this side we will just call it the same. That will almost always be the go-to solution. We could give it a description that is optional. We won't. We can choose between private or public. I will just choose private. Do we want a readme? Probably not, or else we will add it later on. So I'll just create the project. It will look like this. We will have some initial things that we can do. This address here, we will use that. You can find it here. That is the address of this repository. You can find it down here, or you can click clone with HTTPS and copy it from here. So let's create a project in Studio, UiPath Studio, and push it to this Git repository. So I open up UiPath. It will look like this. We will just create a blank project. So click here. Give it a descriptive name. I will just say Open Website Anders. And then we'll click Create. We will open the main workflow. This is really not important what we put in here because we will just see how we back up and how we do changes. But let's go to Activities and find an open browser here and drag it in. Here we can open a URL. So in quotation marks, we can type andersjensen.org. This will open up my web page. So we save it. Now we want to have this project backed up in our Git repository. That's over here. Remember this. So what we do here is that we click Home. We click Team. We choose Git Init. This will create a Git hierarchy in our project folder, the UiPath folder. So click here. We will choose the folder in the UiPath of this current project. UiPath will automatically suggest this. So just click Select Folder. Like this. Here we can see where we have made some changes. This is the initial we did. We changed the main. So we go down here and we give it a message. We can say initial commit. And then we can see that we have some options. We can of course click cancel, that will just cancel this, but we want to commit it and push it. Commit, that is just when we save it locally. And when we push, that means upload to the Git repository here in GitLab. So if I just choose commit, it will save it locally, but we want it up here, so we click commit and push. Like here, let me drag this down. We want to give it a name. This is not important, but we will use it in here in manage remotes. So it can just be open web anders. Then we want a URL. And as I showed you, you can find it down here. And if this is not visible, just click the drop down clone with HTTPS. Copy it from here. Go back to Studio and manage remotes. Here we paste in the URL, like here. We click add. Now we click save. And we have to use the credentials. These are not project level credentials. That is the credentials of your Git instance. Here it's my GitLab. So I'll put in my user. And then I'll put in my password. Like this. So now we have pushed it, that is uploaded it to the Git repository. If we go back to our Git Repository Manager, GitLab, then we'll click refresh. We can see that our project will be down here. Isn't it nice? So now another team member can take this project and work on it, or with the future you can work with it. My recommendation, and this is very important, is that you will always, when you start to modify a project, always take it from this Git Repository Manager. Never work with it locally. Of course, if you just worked with it for 10 minutes ago, do it here. But if it was like 1 week or 2 weeks since you last modified it, take this from the Git Repository Manager, because then you'll know that this is always the last backed up project. So then we won't work with an older instance that would be in our local one. So here we have this sequence. Now we want to make a little change to this sequence. So we find a message box, scroll a little bit down and drag it in like this. So we will just say, hello viewer, you are awesome, like this. Then we'll save it. Notice that down here in the status part it says 0, but when we click save, something will happen. Now that we can see that we have one change, and this is this change. So if we click down here, we can see that we can commit right from here. Another place to commit is that if I click cancel here, if I go to project, I can right click here and click commit. Usually I will use the status bar down here. So let's just click here and we can say that this one is message box added. Then we will click commit and push. And you will see that this one down here will change to a 0 in a bit, right there, right here. But say that we only have saved it locally, that is if we only have committed it. Let me add a space after awesome, nothing really special. We click save. Now we have this change here, so I click it. Then we can say space added to message box. Another good tip is to always write descripting commit messages, because then when we do version control, say that we have like 10 different versions that we have committed to our Git repository, it will be easy to see what has changed for other developers or the future you. But now we only save it locally, so we click commit. And what happens here is that this one gets 0 because we have no changes, we haven't committed, but we can see that we haven't pushed anything. So we are one ahead, it's called. That is, we have worked one change ahead of the remote repository version, which is the one over here. So to fix this, if we want to make sure that this one is pushed, we just can click here, pushing changes, and we are all even. And in case you wonder what these two things are here, this is just our repository name and slug. can see open website Anders, and here we can see what branch we work on. We will get back to that in a few seconds. Because now things get really smart. Say that another developer in the company wants to change this project. And usually two developers don't use the same computer. They might sit in different countries. So we open up another UiPath instance. Simply just click the UiPath Studio. And I put it up here in the corner. That was our initial UiPath while the other one's open. While this open, I can maybe ask you to help me. If this video helps you, then please give it a thumbs up. That will really help my channel and the reach of my videos. Thank you. So now I can move it down here. And instead of just creating a new project, we can clone the remote repository, which is this one. So let me go back to the new one. So when we open up UiPath Studio, click clone or check out here. We can clone repository. So we click here. And again, we need a URL. And in case we have forgotten it, we can find it here. Clone with HTTPS. That was difficult to say. So I put it in here. We can choose a checkout directory, but this one will probably be taken from the previous project here. So let's just call it dev.b. Again, we use the local directories like this, C:, like here, to develop in. But when we finish develop for that day or whatever, we push it to the remote repository. And the next time we will work on it, we just take it from the Git remote repository instead of the local ones. In that way, we make sure that we always have the updated version. I know I repeat myself, but this is important. Then we click Use Credentials. We will type in our credentials and click Open. So now developer B, he will open the project and can work on it. So that's quite clever. We can easily share UiPath project between developers. And let me open up the main here. And you can see that we, or at least in a second, we will just have the project that we just created. So let me widen it a bit so we can see it. So here it is. Now let's say that we will change it a bit more. You can just, dev B wants to add to this project. So he go into the message box and say, you are very awesome. Oh, let me have a space like this. Then we just click save. And to commit and push it to the remote repository, we click the commit change here. Then we can say dev B added very to message box. Again, choose a very describing message. Click commit and push. So now dev B have worked on the project, and say that dev A, that's this guy up here, he wants to have dev B's updates. You can see here we just have you are awesome, that was the old one, and here we have you are very awesome. To do this, we can click down this main here, and we can click pull Rebase. Pull Rebase will take whatever is in the main and make sure that we get it here. So we click here, pull Rebase. Boom, now we have updated our project. So these two guys can work with each other. But say that we both work on the same activity. We both want to update the message box, both dev A up here and dev B down here. So look what's happened. So say that dev A up here, hello, handsome viewer, like this. And dev B, he might want to delete the space, so delete the space. Now we have two different activities in the same. So look what's happening. So we save it up here, we save it down here. In order to commit something, we always need to save it. That's when they will show up here as changes. So let's say that we first push this one down here from dev B. Nothing will really happen because there's no conflict yet. So here we deleted a space in message box. So I commit and push. Then if we go up here to dev A. You see, now we have conflict, and let me show you what's happening. So here we added handsome. We commit and push. And now we have a conflict. So we want to have whatever in the main branch. So we click pull rebase. And now we will have a look at what's going on. Here we can see the two different versions. We have this, the left one, that is the remote, you can see it up here. That is the one from dev B, he pushed, that's this one. And this one is the local, that's the one we're working at, that's this one up here. We can see that this one is yellow, that is the message box. If we highlight this, we can see what's happening in the properties. Over here we have the properties, that is just the text, hello viewer, you are handsome, that was this guy. And here we have hello handsome viewer, you are very awesome. That is this one here. Now we have to choose which one of these two versions we want to keep. And I mean, right here it doesn't, maybe it's not that important because it's just words, but it could be a bigger project. So be careful what you do here if you do it like this. So we can either choose the left, that will be the remote to keep, or we can choose the right, that will be the local, that will now be the main in the remote repository, sorry. So I choose the right, that is this, hello handsome viewer, you are very awesome. So I click save. Now we push the changes. So now the main will get changed again because we chose this one as the version we want to keep. So if we go down here again, we can now pull rebase again. And you will see that this hello handsome viewer will be added here. A cool thing to do if we want to work in parallel, which we often want, is to create a branch. A branch is simply just what it says, a branch of the main workflow. We can work there without having any conflicts with the other developers. And then when we are ready to push it to the main, to merge it actually, then we will just do so. Let me show you how it works. Say that dev B, you can see he's working on the main, but let's create a branch he can work on. So we click the drop down here, we click manage branches. Here we can see our branch. Here we have the main branch. So if we mark this, then I click the plus sign here, and I could call this dev B's work. Like this. And then we click create branch from main, and we can see that it has now been created. So then I click save. Of course, the branch is now looking exactly like the branch, the main branch. But if we want to work with it, click the drop down here, and you can see that it now appears up here, dev B's work, like this. So let's change a bit. We can just change all the things that we wrote here. We do this, then we click save. So now we have changed this message box. We can see the commit changes down here, and let's maybe add a write line. So let's search for a write line or find it here in favorites. Just choose search if you're not having it in favorites here, and I'll just add in a write line here. So what I can do here is that I can, in quotation marks, tell people here, please like the video if it helps you. And again, I know I said it twice in this video, this will really help me a lot if you simply just click like on the video. It will help the channel. So now we have these things here. I click save again. And I could of course push it to the dev B's work, the branch. So if we do that, we can commit message. We can say add write line. And I know we did some other things, but we will just click commit and push. So now this work has been pushed into the branches here. We can even go to our repository. And if we click repository, we can click branches. We can now see that we have our dev B branch of this one here. So we have the main branch, that is the default, and then we have dev B's work. So let me go back to our project, like here. Then we go to UiPath Studio. So this was def A. Let me open def B. It's here. Now say that we want to merge. We have worked a whole day or maybe 2 days. We want to merge this one into our main. And let's say that def A also worked a bit on this. So he probably just deleted everything. So quotation marks, and he just say, hey, like this. So they both change it. We will just push this one as well. A lot of push. Hey, added, commit and push. So if we go back to def B, now we want to merge this into the main. How do we do that? Well, make sure you have saved and committed and pushed all changes like here. So we click the drop down, then we go to main. That was the old one before we changed anything. And now you can click manage branches here. We can see the current branch should be main, so make sure it's the main and not def B's work or whatever you call yours. Then go down to def B's work, right click, click merge, like this, and then we can just push it. So we click here, we push it, and we can see that the current branch is out of date. We expected that because we have updated it up here. So I click pull rebase. And now we can see the conflicts. And here we can, it's really smart because now we can choose which one we want to keep. So do I want the one with the right line, or do I want the one where the message box say, hey? Well, I want the one with the hello handsome viewer and the right line. So I click save here. Like this. So now our def B's work have now been merged into the main. So if this guy up here, the def A, he will pull rebase, you will see that he will have this hello handsome viewer and he will have the right line. I'm working on a full UiPath version control course. To make sure you will get notified when it's here, simply just follow my Instagram, where I will post all news about my courses and I will post tips and tricks.